Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Mark's Man Cave. Today we're going to have a look at the Cosy. It's back from mapping, however we have a problem. Right, so although Nick at Decimal Tenths has done plenty of work on the car, he's set the base map up properly, he's done a small sort of low level runs on it. When he went to map it fully on the rolling road, there's a problem with the temperature. This should sit around 80 degrees when she's running all the time. However, the temperature was up and down, so it's swinging from left to right temperature wise. So we think the problem is the thermostat's stuck open. So although when I've had the engine apart, I put a new thermostat in, it has been sat for quite a long time, to be fair. So this is an 82 degrees centigrade, yep, 82 degrees centigrade thermostat. So which basically means when you first start the engine, it's cold, this will be closed. Let's the engine get up to temperature, and then it opens at 82 degrees, and lets the radiator, the coolant flow through the radiator and around the coolant system. There's another temperature gauge in the bottom of the rad. Mine is set to come on at 87. Wrong. Come on at 90 degrees and turn off at 87. So then that'll keep the car at a nice temperature. We think this is stuck open. So like I say, the temperature wasn't staying at a stable temperature for Nick to be able to map when he was at it on the rolling road. So £10 thermostat is hopefully our problem. If it's not, I'm not sure what the problem is, to be honest with you. So what we're going to do today is swap this out. So let's crack on. So I'm going to start first of all. I'm going to put it up in the air. I'm going to pull the bottom radiator hose off. So take the cap off the coolant reservoir and put her up in the air. I'm lucky enough to have one of these scissor lifts. I bought this a couple of years ago. Like most things, they've absolutely gone through the roof price-wise at the moment. So I'm going to catch it in a bucket and I'm going to reuse this coolant for two reasons. One, the car's only done 60 miles since I put the coolant in it. And the second reason, again, coolant's bloody expensive nowadays, like everything else. So I'm going to attempt now to pull this bottom radiator hose off without covering the floor with coolant and without covering me in coolant. From past experience, if you're a betting man, I'm going to cover me and the floor in coolant. So let's have a crack at this. Yeah, there you go. Me and the car covered in coolant. Need a bigger bucket. And you see that coolant's really clean, not rusty. I did flush the system out a while ago before I put it all back together. Yeah. There you go, covered in coolant. As predicted. Look at that. Lovely. Well, let that drain out for a bit. All down my arm. Brilliant. Should have got you to do that, James, shouldn't I? I should have been the cameraman for this episode.
Maybe.
Right, I'll leave that going. Right, that's the coolant drained. That's me dried off, and the floor dried off. I've got to drop it down now and take the thermostat housing off and get the thermostat out. Right, thermostat housing is located on the front of the engine here. This is a two-wheel drive engine, as you know from previous videos, so it's Escort Cosworth. converted to two-wheel drive with a two-wheel drive engine in. So there's two 30mm bolts on the front. So I'll crack these off. And there's a pipe this side and the bigger pipe here. So I'll get those off. There's probably going to be a bit more coolant come out as well. I'll drain most of it out we can. Bolts in these. So like I say, I did put a new one in when I freshened up the engine. What's that bad boy? Second bolt is underneath, a little bit more fiddly. I don't know if James can get that on the camera or not. Let's just have it here. Water coming out. Extension behind this a bit easier for me. See, one of these bolts, you can only get a little bit of movement on it. It feels loose, but it's not loose enough to do with your fingers. Right. Try a different 30mm. Right, that's the second 30mm bolt out. So what I'm going to do now is whip these two pipes off. Got this little one this side. And then the bigger pipe here. I'm hoping I've got enough slack in this just to be able to pull it off. That's the little one off. Give me some leverage to get this off. And that is the thermostat off, as you can see there. Oh, still leaking water everywhere. That's the old thermostat in there. There's a way to test these, I think. I remember back in the day, you used to sort of put them in boiling water and then see if they pop open. I'm not going to bother with that today. And then we've got this little pin sort of holder in here. So in the box here for the thermostat, I've got a new gasket, new metal holder, anything, for want of a better word. So I think, rightly, that just pops out, either side like that. That's the old thermostat, the old O-ring that sits in there. Maybe this I could clean off before it goes back in. Just a wipe out. That's the thermostat out there. So I've got new O-ring in like so. New thermostat in. I use the new hold-in device. If you look in there, there's like a little groove that sits in, so that can go back in there. Slide that back in. So I've got the little clippy holdy in device back in. It came with a new gasket, like paper type gasket there. I'm going to reuse the existing because it's a Cometic one, which is like a steel type gasket, better quality. And like I say, it's only been in here for a little bit. So putting it back on is the reverse. Let's get this back in. A little bit fiddly. This was certainly easier when the engine was out of the car, I'll tell you. Put the top one in finger tight and get that bottom bolt back in. I put a little bit of gasket sealant on there as well. Not loads, just a little bit to help it seal. Get that bottom bolt started off. Right, that's the 10mm bolts back in. Next is to put the hoses back on. Let's start off with the big one. What we do need to remember to do is to put the one back on underneath the car at the bottom rad, if we're not done yet. There she goes. So back on there. Nip that bad boy up. That one back on. Right guys, so thermostat's changed. As you see, I've shown you how not to empty the water out the bottom of the radiator. It's got absolutely covered. What I'm going to do now is log into the ECU. I've had the car running a little bit now, it's a bit noisy at the moment, apologies. I'm going to log in, watch the temperature rise. In theory, the thermostat should open at 81 degrees, as I said earlier, and then the fans should then kick in at 90 odd degrees, and it should drop it back down to sort of around at the 80 mark. And that's what it wasn't doing before. It was running too cold because we think the thermostat was stuck open. So I'm logging into the ECU now. So that's the temperature we're looking at there. It's at 68 at the moment. As you can see, I've had it running for a little while. I'm not sure how well this is going to come out on camera, but we'll give it a go. That's your little Lambda gauge there, and in all honesty, the rest of it is all witchcraft to me. This is the application the tuners use to map the ECU. That one there is the throttle, and what's that say there? Fuel table, one of the fuel tables there. So it's got a base map on at the moment. Whilst we're waiting for that to get hotter, You can see it slowly going up. I will give it a little bit of revs in a minute. You can add different gauges to this. So you've got the lambda sensor there, which is basically AFR, air fuel ratio, and there's loads of other gauges you can add, like revs, temperature. Once you've got it there, but you can turn it into a gauge like this. If you look at this area here, as I mentioned before, I had a nice DTM monitor here that used to talk to the ECU and give me a readout of all my bits and bobs. I've got this plan in my head, and that plan is to install this 7-inch touchscreen here, plugged into or connected to this little Intel PC, which runs on 12 volts USB-C, and then have the little PC plugged into the ECU down there. See that with a blue light on. And in theory, or my theory is, I'll be able to have all this information that's on here to hand on the gauge on the screen there. Not sure if it'll work. I'm going to have a play, but I think that'd be pretty cool. A bit different maybe. Modern twist to an old Cosworth. So you can see the temperatures are slowly rising. I'm going to give it a bit of rev now. That's just over 81 degrees Celsius now, so the thermostat should have opened. Temperature should carry on rising now. Apologies again for the sound quality, but she is a noisy old girl. No sound editing in this. Twin exit exhaust. We're sat at a couple of thousand RPM just to get her warm. It's pretty cold up north. Below zero all this week, so she takes a bit of warming up. So she should get to around 90, like I said. Fan should kick in and she should start to drop back down again. If it carries on north of 90 odd, starts going into the high 90s, we know the fans aren't kicking in, or possibly the thermostat's not opened. So fingers crossed, it'll start getting cooler again soon. And we want it to sit sort of around 80 degrees. What I'm also going to do was waiting for this to go up. With a modern ECU, I can turn on this login at the top here, and that's now recording everything the ECU's doing. So what Nick at Decimal Tenths has asked me to do is take it out for a drive as well. Like we're at 91 there, look, the fans should kick in soon. I might have to take my foot off the throttle for a bit so I can hear the fans. Yeah, the fans have kicked in. I can hear them in the background. You won't be able to hear them, it's just noise. So that should start dropping down now. Yeah, so sorry, back to what I was talking about. Nick has asked me to go out on the road and do it and give it a blast out. But like I say, ambient temperatures, it's grim up north at the moment. It's absolutely Baltic below zero, so around 75 to 80 I think would be good. And once we get it on the dyno, it's a bit more controlled. So fans are kicked in. See it starting to drop down there. Good sign. Aye, that appears to be working. So the fans should kick in at, I think it was 91 I said in the last video, I'll have to double check, and then they should kick off at around 87, so it sits in that sort of happy temperature zone that we're after. There it goes, it's dropping now. Good news. Leave that for a couple more minutes. Right, brilliant. So that seems to have fixed the problems. I think we're going for a little bit more, but it's not getting hotter, which is a good sign. The fans are kicked in, which means they're cooling the radiator, which means the coolant's running through the radiator, the thermostat's open. So that's brilliant, solved the problem. So that's it for today, guys. I'm not going to film the drive out in it, and I'm sure some of you would love to see this out on the road, and we are going to do a video on that. I don't really want it I am just going out for a real slow drive in it to get the temperature. It's not fully mapped yet. I'm not going to give it a good thrashing, but we are going to do a video. Adam Smith's going to come over. He's a bit more of a pro at this YouTube stuff than me. We're going to stick some cameras on the car and we'll go out for a blast in it once it's mapped. Look forward though, next week, next Friday, she's in for mapping again. So she should all be done there. We're going to do a little video with Nick at Decimal Tenths. We're going to take you around the car and show you what he's done. Thanks for watching. James, what do they need to do?
Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell.
And share. Thanks everyone.